Welcome back to Left Coast News.
Tonight, we're breaking down 7 bills moving through Olympia that should concern every conservative, constitutionalist, small business owner, parent, and taxpayer in Washington state.
These bills all look different on the surface: taxes, transportation, juvenile justice, online safety, but they share one dangerous theme.
Government control expanding, individual liberty shrinking, and constitutional protections quietly eroded under the cover of safety, equity, and public good.
Thanks for tuning in to leftcoastnews.net. News and information from the wacky, sometimes communist, liberal west coast of the United States. For more, visit leftcoastnews.net.
All right, starting off with SB 6196, the 95% Kratom tax. Let's start with Senate Bill 6196, which slaps a 95% tax on Kratom products and creates a new licensing and enforcement regime run by the Liquor and Cannabis Board.
95%. That's not regulation, that's economic prohibition.
Exactly. When government taxes a legal product at nearly 100%, the intent isn't revenue, it's elimination.
And it doesn't stop there. Senate Bill 6196 includes warrantless inspections, vehicle stops, seizure and forfeiture, and felony penalties for licensing violations.
That's a direct Fourth Amendment problem. Administrative agencies conducting inspections without warrants and authorizing vehicle searches on reasonable grounds should alarm anyone.
This also sets a precedent. If the state can destroy one lawful product with taxes and police power, nothing is safe.
All right, SB 6017, limiting the right to self-representation. Next up is SB 6017, which allows courts to appoint a representative to question witnesses even when a defendant has chosen to represent themselves.
That's a direct hit to the Sixth Amendment.
The Supreme Court has been crystal clear. Defendants have the right to represent themselves. This bill chips away at that right by inserting court-approved intermediaries.
Supporters frame it as victim-centered, but constitutional rights don't disappear because a case is emotionally difficult.
Once you carve out exceptions to constitutional protections, the exceptions always expand.
Senate Bill 6062, up next, may be one of the most dangerous bills on this list. It forces courts to default to non-confinement, reduces sentencing ranges for violent juvenile crimes, and mandates early release hearings.
Judges must now justify confinement instead of release, even for robbery and firearm-related offenses.
That flips public safety on its head.
And let's be clear, victims' rights are sidelined while offenders are guaranteed review hearings and accelerated release paths.
This violates the constitutional principle that government's first duty is protecting the public, not social experimentation.
Next up, SB 5234, taxing rural recreation. Then we have SB 5234, which raises snowmobile registration fees by 50%.
This one matters because it shows how Olympia views rural Washington as an ATM.
Snowmobilers already pay layered fees. This increase disproportionately impacts rural residents and working class recreation.
It's another example of taxation without meaningful accountability.
SB 6110, regulating electric bikes into oblivion.
SB 6110 pretends to be about definitions, but it quietly sets the stage for future licensing, registration, age limits, and penalties for electric bikes and motorcycles.
The bill creates a government work group stacked with agencies and advocacy groups, but no everyday riders.
This is how regulation creeps in. Study first, restrict later.
And once again, we see unelected bureaucrats deciding how people can move, travel, and commute. Next up is SB 6176, Parked Cars, New Fines. SB 6176 creates fines for parked, unoccupied vehicles with expired registrations, even on some private property.
Let that sink in. You're fined for a car that isn't moving.
This turns registration enforcement into a revenue trap, not a safety measure.
It also raises property rights concerns. Government intrusion into private parking areas is a dangerous precedent.
Next up is HB 1834, Online Speech and Surveillance.
Finally, House Bill 1834, which regulates online content, feeds, notifications, and age verification for platforms accessed by minors.
This bill borrows heavily from California laws that are already being challenged in court for violating the First Amendment.
It forces companies to either surveil users' ages or apply child-level restrictions to everyone.
That's compelled speech, compelled design, and government interference in lawful expression.
And enforcement is done through the Consumer Protection Act, meaning massive fines and lawsuits.
When you look at all 7 bills together, a pattern emerges.
Higher taxes, weaker due process, softer criminal sentencing, increased surveillance, and expanding bureaucratic control.
This isn't accidental, it's ideological.
If conservatives don't push back, comment, testify, and vote, this becomes the new normal.
Because rights don't usually disappear overnight.
They get regulated, taxed, studied, redefined, and enforced away.
This is Left Coast News. Stay informed and stay involved.
And don't let them do this quietly.